Hey there, and welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking at something super useful for actually getting things done,
Hmm.
whether it's, learning a new language, maybe finishing a project, or just feeling a bit more in control. We're talking about self-discipline.
Right. A really fundamental skill.
Yeah, and we'll explore why it's often so tricky to stay focused, resist those distractions.
And maybe more importantly, what practical things can you actually do about it?
Exactly. We'll dig into some straightforward strategies to help you boost your self-discipline. We're going to listen to a simple, kind of everyday chat that shows some common challenges.
And we'll pull out some useful English words and phrases from that.
Yep, and we'll even look at a key grammar point, one that's all about daily habits. Sound good? Ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Hmm?
This is a skill that really empowers you to achieve what you set out to do. Seeing how it plays out day to day is a great way to learn.
Okay, so let's dive right into a conversation. Imagine two people talking about working from home, and one of them mentions how easily they get distracted. Does that sound familiar to anyone listening?
Oh, I think so. It's a very common experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when your work or study space is also, well, your home space.
Right. Just so many potential interruptions everywhere.
Exactly. Your
Yeah.
phone, the fridge, the TV.
Totally. And then the other person in this chat, they share what they do to stay on track. They talk about having a routine,
Routine. Yes.
like waking up early, doing some exercise, starting work at the same time every day. It sounds very well organized.
Organization is, well, it's a fantastic tool for building self-discipline, actually. When you have a predictable structure, it helps you prioritize.
Prioritize what's important.
Yes, and it kind of reduces the temptation to get sidetracked by, less important things. It's like creating a roadmap for your day.
Yeah, roadmap. I like that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty different from the first person's experience, right? They admit they often sleep in
Mm-hmm.
and then feel bad about wasting time. I think many of us can relate to that feeling.
Definitely. And that feeling of guilt, it can actually be a helpful signal sometimes.
Oh, so.
Well, it tells us that we know deep down we could be using our time in a way that aligns better with our goals. It highlights that gap between intention and action.
Okay. That
Right.
makes sense. And this leads to some good advice in the conversation. The person with the routine,
Yeah.
they explain that for them, it really comes down to self-discipline, like setting small, clear goals.
Right. Small goals.
And then giving yourself a little reward when you finish them.
Yes. And what's really interesting about that approach is how it breaks down these huge tasks into much smaller steps, manageable steps.
So instead of, I need to finish this entire English chapter.
Exactly. You focus on something like, okay, I'll study vocabulary for 20 minutes, or I will write just one paragraph.
Right. Makes it feel less overwhelming.
For sure. And it gives you that sense of accomplishment much more frequently, which,
Uh-huh.
keeps you motivated.
And the examples they give are really simple. Write for 30 minutes or finish reading one chapter. Not huge, scary things.
Precisely. These small, achievable goals are absolutely key. They help you maintain focus because you only need to concentrate for a short burst.
And the reward afterwards?
Well, that makes the whole process feel more positive, doesn't it? So you're more likely to stick with it next time.
Okay, so the conversation then touches on something we all probably struggle with sometimes, putting things off.
Ah, yes, the classic.
The first speaker even uses a specific word for it, procrastination,
Mm-hmm.
and calls it the enemy of self-discipline.
That's a perfect way to describe it, actually. Procrastination is basically when you delay or postpone tasks, often choosing something more fun instead.
Right, and it just fights against self-discipline, stopping you from taking those actions you need to take.
Exactly, to reach your goals, whatever they are.
So what's the advice then for overcoming this procrastination and, strengthening our self-discipline?
Well, the advice shared is pretty practical. Start small. Really small sometimes.
Okay.
Be consistent. Try to do it regularly, even if it's just for a little bit. And don't give up when you have a setback, because you will have setbacks. Everyone has off days.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, the important thing is just to keep trying. It's about building momentum with those small successes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Right, let's maybe shift gears a little and look at some useful English words and phrases that came up.
Good idea. These will help you understand and talk about this topic more easily. Expanding your vocabulary around something helps you grasp it better.
Totally. First up, self-discipline itself. The definition given is the ability to control your behavior and make yourself work hard or follow rules even when you don't feel like it. Pretty good definition, right?
It is. It really captures that idea of Using your willpower, doing what needs to be done, even when motivation is low.
Yeah. Like self-discipline helps you keep studying English even when you're tired after a long day.
Exactly. That's a great example.
Next is the phrase stick to something. This means to continue doing something without changing or quitting.
Consistency.
Yeah, the example is she sticks to her English study plan every week. So important for language learning.
Absolutely. Sticking to a routine or a plan, that's where you really see self-discipline in action, maintaining that commitment.
Then we have sleep in. Simple one means to stay in bed longer than usual in the morning.
A common temptation.
Right, the example. I usually sleep in on Saturdays.
It's a good example of how, our desire for immediate comfort can sometimes mess with our plans for the day.
Yeah.
Rest is important, of course, but regularly sleeping in can disrupt things.
Okay. Our next word is procrastination. We talked about this one. Defined as the habit of delaying or postponing tasks.
The enemy we mentioned.
Yes, and the example. Procrastination often makes it harder to meet deadlines for your English assignments. I bet many language learners can agree with that.
Yeah, that example really highlights the negative side, doesn't it? It can create unnecessary stress, make it harder to reach your learning goals.
And finally, reward yourself. This means to give yourself something nice after completing a task.
A little treat.
Exactly. The example, after finishing my English lesson, I reward myself with a short video. Great way to stay motivated.
Definitely. Rewards can be super effective in making self-discipline feel, more positive, more sustainable. It's about acknowledging your effort.
And our source suggests trying to say these words out loud. It really can help, make them stick in your memory and help your pronunciation.
Oh, for sure. Don't be afraid to practice saying them. It's a great way to build confidence. Say procrastination.
Procrastination. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at a little bit of English grammar.
All right.
We're going to focus on the present simple tense, and specifically how we use it to talk about habits and routines.
Perfect connection to our topic.
Right, because self-discipline is often about those consistent actions, those habits.
Exactly. The present simple is fundamental for describing those regular activities, the things you do habitually. It's the tense we naturally use when talking about routines and discipline.
Our source gives some clear examples. I wake up at 6 a.m. That's a habit. Regular action.
She sleeps in on weekends. A recurring thing.
Right, a pattern.
And they stick to their English study schedule. That implies an ongoing commitment, doesn't it?
It does. These all describe established patterns or routines.
And the basic structure is, pretty simple, actually. For I, you, we, and they, you just use the basic verb form.
Like I study, you practice, we learn, they focus.
Yeah, the verb stays in its simplest form for those. No changes.
That's right.
But for he, she, and it, we usually add an S to the verb.
Right, like he studies, she practices, it helps.
That third-person singular S, an important little grammar rule to remember when you're talking about someone else's habits.
Definitely.
And then for questions or negative statements in the present simple, we often need do or does. Yes, those auxiliary verbs.
Like, do you study every day? Or, she doesn't procrastinate on her homework.
Those helpers, do and does, are essential for forming questions and negatives correctly when you're talking about habits in the present simple.
So really, understanding the present simple helps us talk clearly about those regular actions that build self-discipline in language learning. Like practicing every day, or maybe not procrastinating. It's kind of the grammar of habits.
That's a great way to put it. The grammar of habits. It allows us to clearly express those consistent behaviors that make up a disciplined approach to learning English, or anything else, really.
Okay, now it's your turn to think a little bit. We've got a few questions for you listening. You can just think about your answers or maybe even say them out loud.
Yeah, these questions are designed to help you connect what we've been talking about, self-discipline, directly to your own English learning journey.
Okay, first question. What is one English language goal you want to achieve this week? Maybe something small, like learning 5 new words or finishing 1 lesson.
Just having that specific, achievable goal in mind is a great first step. Practicing self-discipline right there.
Second question. Do you have a regular time for studying English? What does your routine look like? Or maybe what could it look like?
Thinking about your current routine, or lack thereof, can help you see where you're already disciplined, and maybe where you can make a small change.
Third, how do you reward yourself after you finish studying English? Or maybe after you do something difficult? Do you do something you enjoy?
Remembering to acknowledge your effort with a small reward can really make studying feel less like a chore, Helps you stick to it.
Yeah. And finally, question 4. What is one small way you could reduce procrastination when it comes to your English studies? Just one small thing.
Identifying just one specific strategy to tackle procrastination, that's a key step in building stronger self-discipline as a learner. Maybe putting your phone in another room.
Good one. It can be really helpful just to think about these, maybe even jot down your answers. Makes your goals and habits feel more real.
Yes, actively engaging with questions like these helps you apply the ideas we've discussed to your own situation. Makes it practical.
Okay, let's quickly recap then what we've covered in this deep dive. We talked about self-discipline, what it means, why it's so important for reaching your goals, especially with something like language learning.
We looked at those common challenges, didn't we? Staying focused, avoiding distractions, fighting procrastination, and we explored practical strategies like setting those small goals and using rewards.
We also learned some useful English vocabulary. Words like self-discipline, stick to, sleep in, procrastination, and reward. Try saying them again.
And we focused on that grammar point, the present simple tense, and how it's perfect for describing habits and routines, which is essential for talking about your regular English learning activities.
Yeah, I think the main thing to take away is to think about how you can actually use this information. Even making one small change today, right now, can really start to build your self-discipline as an English learner.
Absolutely. Remember, developing self-discipline, it's a journey. It's not like, poof, you have it overnight. It's not a destination. Every small effort you make adds up over time.
So true. Well, thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. And just remember, building self-discipline isn't really about being perfect all the time.
Not at all.
It's about taking those first small steps, trying to be consistent, and importantly, not getting too discouraged if you have a day where things don't quite go to plan.
Keep practicing your English, keep learning about what works for you in terms of staying focused, and keep prioritizing your own growth and self-development.
Well said. Until our next deep dive, take care and stay focused on those English language goals.